You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
I want to talk about news, don't want the drama. From no pretentious media Madonna. I found me a great ganja mama. Cannabis and coffee with Tamarijuana.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cannabis and Coffee with me. I think my guest is having some issues. I'm just going to check here. My phone's having some issues. I don't know what the heck's going on with it either. But yeah, I'm going to have to just pop over to another screen here because I am thinking that we're having some issues because I haven't seen her yet. Wrong link. Yep. Hang on. We got the wrong link. Hang on. Oh my goodness. Because Al sent me the wrong link the last time. So I'm going to have to send this to her right now because she got the wrong link. She's in the wrong show. There we go. She's just wait. I'm just going to have to wait for a second for her to come in. But so today my guest is Allison Merton. As soon as we can get her. But Al had sent me the link for the Pace show, and then this morning I sent that to her, and then it's the wrong. Yeah. Anyways, she'll be with us for quite shortly. But Allison is one of the first cannabis patients in Canada. She fought in the Hitzig case back in, I think it was 1999, 2000. And there was, that was just the name of the plaintiff. There were several other patients that were actually involved, including Debbie Stout-Skiffen and a few other patients. I'm not sure exactly who all the plaintiffs were. But to be clear, since cannabis became legal for medical patients in Canada, we have fought for everything we've ever gotten in a court of law. It wasn't like the Canadian government went, oh, these people need this. They still don't recognize cannabis as medicine via Health Canada. So when you go to the Health Canada website, they don't recognize cannabis as medicine. Isn't that lovely? Well, hello. How are you today? So again, that's always been a catalyst for me. Like being that I use cannabis as a medicine myself, for several different reasons. For them not to recognize it as a medicine is ridiculous on all levels, considering we have a medical marijuana program in Canada and have had since 2000. But to be clear, that was forced on them by a Supreme Court of Canada ruling, and it was called the Hitzig case. And then we've had to have several different cases since then. There was the Allard ruling, which was our growing. Hang on, I think we're having some issues again. Not working. No. Okay, let's hang on a second here. Let's see if I can try this again. We're gonna go here. We're gonna go Command C, and then I'm gonna go here, and then I'm gonna go back over here. I don't know if she's having issues. It should be the right one. Okay, so she's having issues getting in, but that's okay. Gary will figure it out. Somehow Gary will figure this out. I know he will. Anyway, so we've had, I'm good, Michaela, how are you? We've had to go to court several different times. In fact, I was involved in the Myrna case. So Matt was another cannabis patient living in Toronto and was caught growing plants. And he ended up getting caught and getting busted, and then found a lawyer that was willing to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. Now we lost that case. Oh, and there we have her. Right on. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Allison right in because there's no point talking about her. She can tell her story herself. Right on. Good morning, lovely. How are you today?
Hey, I'm fabulous. Thanks to
Your
some
your
angels who dropped
camera's all
by
your,
it.
morning, lovely. How are you today? Your camera's all blurry, hun.
I know, honey. I don't know how to fix it. Gary's at work.
Oh, that's okay. We will just keep you like the way you are. You can still talk and people can still hear you, so that's fine. Today, folks, this is Allison Murray. Now you can't see her, but you can hear her, and she has been involved in the cannabis movement long before me. So let's ask you to start from Hitsig on, and then where we are now with psilocybin, because Allison's been involved with law reform and was a former law enforcement agent at one time. She was involved with law enforcement against prohibition. She's always been a firm believer that all substances should be legalized and regulated. And I'm a firm believer of that myself. I think it takes the commodity out of the drugs, it takes the dealers off the streets, it makes it so it's manufactured, tested, and safe, because we're never going to get rid of drug use, no matter what we do. So, further ado, go ahead.
I so agree.
So you want to tell people where you...
agree with that.
Go ahead.
Oh, I said I 100% agree, sweetie. We have to legalize and regulate every single substance for the first thing, because patients like me need access to these substances.
Exactly. So do you want to tell our listeners what you suffer with, what your affliction is? Because I can't pronounce it. And what you're using and what you're fighting right now, because you're fighting for legalization of psilocybin at this point. After we've gone through the cannabis, you're on to psilocybin. So let's get back to what your affliction is and what you're using to control your pain levels.
You bet, Tamara. I've been all about, for over 35 years, I've been fighting in Canada to legalize not only cannabis as medicine for people like you, but also I one step further, because again, I'm a retired law enforcement officer and I battle primary progressive multiple sclerosis and a nasty 24 hours a day pain in my face called trigeminal neuralgia, which is apparently the worst pain known to medicine, also called the suicide disease. So as soon as I heard those words, I thought, that's not me. I'm going to find answers. So I went all over the internet, honey, and all over the world looking for help. I've been using psilocybin for over 30 years through my neurologist, but I wasn't using enough until 2017, when I upped my dose to 5 grams per time. I actually got relief from this pain in my face. If I do that every 2 hours, I have no pain at all. So that's what I live with, Tamara, and I've been fighting for everybody around the world to have access to all of these substances for the exact same reasons that I do. I can't hear you, sweetheart.
Yeah, I muted my mic because the dogs are barking. Sorry. Now we've also been for so long, people have been always told to microdose mushrooms, right? Microdose the psilocybin, microdose for depression and anxiety and all these things. Now that's effective for some people too, but you're finding now that the higher dosing is more effective for pain because it blocks the neurological pain receptors. Is that right?
Actually, that's exactly it, Tamara. And there's something that psilocybin or magic mushrooms turn into when you consume them called psilocin. And I'm after the psilocin. I need a really high amount of psilocin, at least 30 milligrams per dose, in order to relieve this pain that I have.
Right.
So again, we're investigating. I've got people helping me, and we're going to find out, sweetheart, for everybody around the world that has these issues and that consumes these beautiful, incredible natural substances to have a better quality of life.
Absolutely. And other cultures have known for decades that plant medicine and plant-based medicine, because let's be fair, most everything that's pharmaceutical is plant-based to begin with too, because everything had to be naturally found and then chemically compounded to be the drugs that we use today for pharmaceuticals, including opioids, with poppies, cannabis for pain relief, psilocybins, cocaine, heroin, like heroin, opiates, right? And then they put such a restriction on even cocaine as a medicine because it was so highly addictive, right? Unfortunately.
You know what? You bet, honey. Any way you can get and ingest this as medicine, these plants, is medicine, is going to help you. So, and I think people need to understand that because, again, a lot of people don't consume these substances, again, understandably. But I think it's because they're afraid of the effects tomorrow. So I want people to understand that those effects they're there for a reason. They actually make us happy and they make us forget things. That's why cannabis is good for things like PTSD. People don't realize, again, that all of the synergistic effects of the cannabinoids are what's helping.
Well, we have cannabinoids receptors in our body for a reason, right? And we all know that women's breast milk, and women's breast milk naturally produces CBDs.
Yes.
Right? Because our bodies need to have them. And unfortunately, Western medicine, and I take pharmaceuticals. Like I do not stand alone on natural medicine. Unfortunately, it doesn't do everything my body needs. So I'm not here to shame anybody who uses natural medicine or shame anybody who uses pharmaceuticals either, because we all have our own individual needs. And some of us have to use combinations, and some of us can get away with just using natural medicines, and some of us can't. So I want to make that clear too, that we're not here to shame anybody for whatever their doctors or their practitioners have told them to do. And please make sure that you listen to them, right? Because if you don't listen to your doctor, who is a professional, whether you believe that or not, they do go to school for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like we need to.
You know what, Laura, I have to interrupt because I actually taught my doctors decades ago because they didn't believe that cannabis.
I know that. I know that. I absolutely know that. I know that we've had to fight with doctors in Western medicine for decades over cannabis, psilocybin, and everything, because they're so brainwashed to believe that it was a controlled substance, right? And because of the illegal, because it was illegal, there was no room for them to wiggle.
Prohibition has done this, hon. 100% it's prohibition.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about that last night about Reefer Madness and how ridiculous that movie is now. Yes. Like if you watch it now in 2026 for what they did in 1920 with that movie, and how ridiculous and how much the propaganda and the lies were so ridiculous, that it's so unbelievable to us now that how could people in the 20s actually believe that?
Oh, I know, honey, I know. But it's good for people to see the way they used to think before people like us educated them.
Absolutely. Right? Now, HitSig was 1999, 2000, right?
Actually, I think it was a little bit later, but ultimately, again, you're right. And the HitSig lawsuit was such an important lawsuit here in Canada for patients. And Professor Alan Young, who was my lawyer at the time, wanted just me and him to do it. And I said, no, Alan, because I knew there were other issues that needed to be addressed. We had mental health. We had a patient with mental health issues. We had a patient with hepatitis C, a patient with epilepsy. Me and Debbie Saltzgiven, who both of us deal with multiple sclerosis. We had a number of people on this, involved in the lawsuit. There were 8 of us. And again, if anybody wants details, look up HitSig versus Canada in Wikipedia, because it's all right there.
Yeah. And that was one of many. Because like I said at the beginning of the show before you were able to get in here, everything that we've gotten from the Canadian government was fought in a court of law. Yes. They've never given us cannabis anything. Legalization wasn't even for us.
We took the government to court 12 times tomorrow for cannabis.
Right? Yeah. But even with legalization, it wasn't given to us. It wasn't given to us. It was basically a forced legislation too. And at the end of the day, they had already made a mess of the patients with the licensed producers, and they had these big industries and didn't know what to do with them.
You know what, honey? And again, that's why the program isn't working. It's all, again, based on prohibition. The government did not want to legalize and regulate cannabis to begin with. And now that they have, they're actually up in arms because people are happy. And what's happening is, again, it's supply and demand, as you know, Tamara. So people are going to consume these things, whether or not they have a legal source. So again, for our government to legalize and regulate all of these substances once and for all would be the answer to me, because I'm going to go after them for LSD and.
You want me to tell you why they won't? No, I'm going to tell you. This is my scenario. This is my scenario as to why they don't do that. Because now they've made treatment into human trafficking in an industry. So if they cure everybody from drugs and legalize the drugs, there won't be any access to drugs that make them so sick and die on the streets. So their industry that they've already built with prisons and treatment won't make them any money. And then the cannabis legalization too, like I have no. It was all about public health and safety, right? That's what they said about cannabis legalization. It's all about public health and safety.
Disgusting, Tamara. I'm telling you, I'm still working with the government. I'm actually in the midst of doing things now to approach them with another issue, because again, the cannabis issue is so wrong in Canada. There's so many patients who are suffering and like me, not able to get into the program because they've reduced the limit so much. I heard again, the latest I heard was a few months ago from a doctor that there was, what was the limit? I think they were reducing from 25 grams a day on your license to around 5. And that
I've been hearing that a lot too. And another thing we've been hearing too is because the market price on cannabis has come down.
150 grams a day of cannabis in order to feel better and not use my pills. That's what the government's fighting us with. They want.
Well, the thing of it is, when I went to get my last licensing, I asked for my 15 grams because that's already what I had prior to get a renewal, right, from one of these places. Yes. And I had to go through get the not the ECMPR because I don't have ability to grow right now, so there was no point. And they refused to give me my 15 grams a day because they told me it was I wouldn't be able to afford it. And I'm like, how do you know what I can afford and what I can't afford?
That's exactly.
So they cut me back. They cut me back to 7 grams a day, and I'm like, 7 grams a day. Okay, I still can't afford that either. To be fair, there's no way I can even afford 7 grams a day because I don't have a job anymore to begin with either. And it's just has been a struggle but the access. All you guys wanted was access. But dignified access doesn't mean going to a legal store where you can only get a 10 milligram package of gummies that don't work for anybody. Exactly. Well, some people do. Or the fact that it's like at an affordable price, you can't have any insurance company cover that unless you're buying it from the mail through the licensed producer, which means you have to have a licensing for. And my doctor told me, why would she give me my license when I could go and buy 30 grams a day? Why would she license me for 15 grams? When I can go buy legally 30 grams a day. So
exactly, sweetheart. Exactly. And this is what we're fighting tomorrow, because that's not fair. People like us who consume more than 5 grams a day should be respected. And that's, again, why I have a problem with the government, and I've been fighting them for almost all my life. It doesn't make sense that you or me or anyone else who chooses these substances as medicine has issue. That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And the fact that my thing is too, they got this pharma plan coming out, but they're not going to cover anything but certain drugs, insulin, and this and that. But cannabis is something that patients need too. So why are they not wrapping cannabis into that Pharma Act? And they've lowered the price. So the market price of cannabis has gone down to $6.50 a gram. Okay, that's good for anybody who's buying it recreationally. But what that does then is make the veterans lose that $2.50 of payback. So if they're paying $8.50 for theirs in the store still, or if they're buying whatever, they're now only going to get reimbursed for $6.50 because everything works on market price and market value. So the veterans feel like they're being attacked, even though they're technically not doing it on, it's not like, they're going off market value so the government can cut back and save money. Okay, I get that. But why are you targeting medical cannabis? Out of all the things you could be looking at all the things that you're paying out for all the benefits, why are you looking to cut back medical cannabis when it's one of the most effective things for post-traumatic stress syndrome? I'm just going to tell you for myself, it's one of the most effective things that I can use. And they're going to cut that back. So why target cannabis? Out of all the other things you could cut back on, why that?
But you know what, honey? They're targeting it because it's interrupting the pharmaceutical right. So they feel that they have the right as pharmaceutical companies to do this to patients. We're not in it for for healthcare. We're not taking pills for healthcare. We're taking pills for pain or money care, like dollars, right? It's the dollars in their pocket that they're going to get from all the pills that people like you and me consume. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. If you've noticed, the studies have been out all over the world about how cannabis drops your pill intake tremendously. And I knew that.
We just had a great big, because Al does a lot of the research for the show, for Pace Radio shows on Wednesday night. And they're putting out thousands and thousands of studies a year for the last 10 years. But then at the end of every study, more research needs to be done. More research needs to be done. How much more fucking research do you fucking need? The only time they stipulate what's medical and what's not is if you take the cannabis out. Because then they'll decipher between recreational and medical. But yet they don't recognize cannabis as medicine. But if you go to sell it, they should have fuck do.
Unbelievable. We have a lot of educating to do, Tamara, and I personally am not stopping because this is ridiculous.
It's 20 years this year. I started in 2006.
They need to know exactly what these substances do to people. So whether it be alleviate pain or alleviate, again, your PTSD issues and everything you deal with, people, again, are learning that, Tamara. And we have to keep educating the world. Because, again, there are people out there who have never heard this.
Well, I think what's most disturbing is when we break down how much money the government takes in and how much money they're spending on propaganda information and cannabis hitosis and all these things that are, and impaired driving, which we know really isn't a thing. I mean, I'm not saying that there are some people that don't consume cannabis and it really messes them up. Okay, we're all different individuals. Some of us that use it for cannabis don't get the same effects that somebody that only uses it like once a month. Okay, sure. and that's be fair. Somebody that uses it recreationally, that only smokes like once in a while, is going to get way more lit than I am. I smoke, and I have smoked chronically before I was medical, and now that I'm medical, I'm a daily user. Right, it keeps me off a lot of the other medications that I've got behind my shoulder. So again, with that being said, I can't afford what I need for cannabis medicine because my hydromorphine are only $3 for 90 of them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly what they do.
So they'll cover my morphine, but they won't cover my cannabis, right? Because cannabis is still like.
I know. I'm in the same boat, Tamara. I don't buy my cannabis, thank God. There are people who help me, but I will tell you again, I understand that's why I can't afford it. And I haven't been able to afford it for decades. So again,
I can't afford it either.
Done so that people like us aren't left on the out. We're not outliers.
I've got benefits through my husband's job, but I've never approached them to pay for my cannabis because, first of all, I don't think they would. And I don't want to cause an alarm for him to end up having problems with his job either, right? So it's something that I've just never approached them for. But I also don't buy through the licensed producers and wait for it in the mail. I just don't. And as it is,
when cannabis was, even before it was legalized, my mom and I were the first people in Canada to actually send in forms to the government to say we'd like some money back. And my mom got back $9,000 that year, because of all the receipts I'd written out to vendor and the amount. Because you know what? I didn't know who I was buying it from on the street, but it was medicine. And I was proving that when, again, we got a tax return that year, my mom for $9,000 for the cannabis that she bought me that year. I'll never forget that, Tamara.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, how many of us were using it prior to legalization?
And now you can't do it, but now they won't allow that to happen.
No.
And that's
the
most.
Not unless you're buying from the. Yeah, you have to be buying from the licensed producers, and you have to have a medical licensing, and you have to prove all that with your income tax, right?
You do.
And I don't have a licensing anymore because, again, like my doctor said, why would I prescribe you 15 grams a day when you can go buy 30?
Yeah, shame. Oh my God.
And that was my GP here who had signed it.
You need your doctor actually to sign that paperwork just so that you can be a legal patient and have the power. That's what I'm doing again. Because literally,
I thought about doing that too.
Yeah, I've been fined for 5 or 6 years without a license, without a cannabis license, and I personally don't care. because my health is not changing and people know I consume cannabis, and that's enough for me. Bottom line, though, again, I was educated by a friend of mine, Sherry Bennett, recently, who actually mentioned that if we were legal, again, we'd be counted as a legal patient in Canada, and we'd have more power when we're out in public if we ever get it.
Well, that's it. That's a thing that Michelle Rainey said to me when I first got my licensing back in 2012. You can be louder if you're legal. So that's why I got licensed to begin with. That was one of the reasons why I flew to Ontario and got my licensing to begin with. But again, too, like our numbers have gone from over 50,000 licensed patients down to about 10,000 again because of legalization. People aren't going to get their licensing
actually,
anymore.
There are 180,000 legal cannabis patients in Canada tomorrow.
Oh, is there? Oh, that's great.
Montel last year, and with that number was quoted. So again, it's not that legalization is changing much; it's just interfering with us. So we're not.
Yeah.
I mean, legalization, yes, is the reason that we're having all the problems we're having. But again, they're interfering with the medical end of this, product or this substance. It's not the same. Medical and social. I can't go to a social. I can't go to an Ontario cannabis store and even get what I need in a day. Again, I consume 150 grams of cannabis in a day. And then I just had 8 grams of mushrooms. Where the heck would I get that from? And again, that's why we're fighting for legalization, because patients like us consume these products just out of, curiosity, trying to feel better.
Well, that's the thing. Like, who wants to be all hopped up on opioids? Because their side effects to those are way worse than any side effect you're going to get from cannabis or psilocybin.
I need those not to be right out. I'm prescribed so much for my pain. I can't even lift my head off the pillow, let alone get out of bed. And that's again why I've been fighting, because I don't want to live like that. I want to have my life. I want to be able to get up and talk and do things and educate people as to why I'm still here. Let alone again while everybody else is doing well.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like you've been like the lead of the global marijuana marches for years. Whether you're in your wheelchair or whether you're walking, you're always out there. And for you to not be able to have that quality of life because somebody's telling you can't, that's not right either. And it shouldn't be just you by yourself fighting, for all these things. And that's why I keep telling everybody, our fight's not over. We need to get back to our community. We need to reunite ourselves. We need to quit worrying about whether, like COVID really split our community in half too, to be honest. Like that's what really broke our community in half. We really found out who people were when the pandemic started. So our community kind of split in half because of who uses natural medicine and who doesn't, and the judgment calls. And that's why I said no stigma here, no shade on anybody. You do what you have to do to make sure that you feel better. No, quality of life is first and foremost, and what's right for you is my choice. And my choice is what
helps you teach people,
right? Exactly. And if we don't keep talking and educating,
I found out about a lot of these cannabis included by accident, how much they worked as medicine. I remember when my friend Kevin left a cigarette on my bedside table before I was legal, before I even came out to anybody. We partied all the time. There were a ton of us that hung out for decades. We had tons and tons of friends. So Kevin would come over every day at lunch, or every once a week, whenever he could at lunch from his work, and he'd drop by and he'd hang with me. And this particular day, he left a cannabis cigarette on my table, and I fought him. And I said, no, I am not going to consume cannabis. It's illegal, and I'm not going to lose my job as a law enforcement officer. So I literally threw Kevin out of my house. I honestly can't believe that. Within 10 minutes of me doing that, I felt so bad. I looked at the cigarette on my table, on my bedside table. I smoked half of it. Before I even knew what was going on, I was making the bed and singing to the song on the radio. And that literally changed my life. The next day, I went to my doctor and I said, I found my medicine. It is cannabis. And that, my darling, was 1994.
Right. Exactly. And
I can't believe it took me that long, Tamara. I really can't believe it took me that long. I smoked cannabis when I was young, but I just never smoked enough. And this particular friend of mine, Kevin, would see at every party how I'd just literally be sitting there not doing anything until I had cannabis. And every party he would throw an ounce of cannabis in my lap and say, get up and dance. And I would literally, we'd roll it away. I'd be smoking all night and I would not be able to sit down. I had so much energy. And before that, again, I couldn't walk. I lost the ability to walk. In 1992, I couldn't walk at all. That's what people do. And that's what my friends Kevin and Mike, all these people who helped me, I love them so much, Tamara. And John, they all keep me going and have for decades. So,
we have to take a quick break right now and thank we have to take a quick break and thank all our sponsors. So we'll take a quick commercial break and come back. Unfortunately, we won't be able to talk behind the scenes. I didn't get a chance to tell you that, but we'll pop out of here and we'll be back after a quick commercial break. And then I want to talk to you a little bit more about the psilocybin fight and law enforcement against prohibition and why you are so adamant about legalizing all substances.
Awesome. Thanks, Anne.
Okay. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Re-rolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
All right, we're back after that break from our great sponsors. I'd like to say thank you to them again, because without them and you, our listeners, we wouldn't have shows. So we're back with Allison Nerd. Now, Allison has been, like we've been talking about, a long-time advocate, but you've been working on a project with psilocybin for the last 4 or 5 years now, I think, within the legal system, right? And attempting to get a psilocybin section 50, is it a 56 with the psilocybin, or is it 1-141?
Actually, I'm hoping now just to become legal in any way, because everything my lawyers have submitted over the last few years, my lawyer Paul Lewin, and with the help of people like Nicholas Pope, a human rights lawyer from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Paul Lewin is...
You got to speak, honey, we can't hear you. You're going to have to speak into your microphone. We can't hear you, sorry.
I was just saying that Paul Lewin actually is doing quite a bit to help me. And we've had a human rights attorney from Ottawa, Nicholas Pope, join our team just recently in the last couple of years. And we've been fighting for human right for people that need this as medicine, need psilocybin as medicine. I wanted to tell you, Tamara, I just won a big case, as you might know. I was actually arrested in May at a bar. I was out at a local establishment, pardon me, here in Burlington, Ontario, Canada, where I live with my partner, Gary Lynch. And I had my psilocybin tea in my little carry-on bag with me. I had 4 bottles and literally sat down at the table. Everybody in the bar knew that I brought my own medicine, and then I drank magic mushroom tea. All the people who worked there, everybody, the owners were friends of ours for many years. Ultimately, again, Gary and I went to order a drink, and the bartender came up to our table and asked us again what we would like, and right away pointed to my bottle and asked what was in it. And I told her my medicine, my magic mushroom tea. And within 15 minutes, she called the police and had me and Gary escorted out of the bar and refused to serve us. She had refused to serve us before that. But ultimately, the Killing Time band were playing. And again, none of us really understood what was going on because we were sitting right beside the band. And so sure enough, they started playing the song, Does It Make Sense? Wouldn't you know it? That's when the police walked in during the song that they wrote for me, called Doesn't Make Sense. So check that out on YouTube for sure. But ultimately,
yeah, the Killing Time band. Yep, the Killing Time band. Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. So, what did this employee not know you? Was this employee a new employee? Like, what was her point?
It was a bartender who we'd never seen before, Tamara. She was young.
Right.
And as soon as I said it was my magic mushroom tea, we heard later from people that the call that she had put in was that there was a woman doing drugs in the bar. So ultimately, again, we ended up, Paul didn't like that at all, Paul Lewin, especially because it was our anniversary, Gary's and my anniversary, 37 years together. And ultimately, again, Paul went to town and went at it. He submitted a huge lawsuit to the Burlington courts, basically saying that we were fighting it, and him as a constitutional lawyer was asking, why again was there an issue when they knew exactly what was in my bottle and had for years? So, and ultimately, Nicholas Pope, the human rights lawyer from Ottawa that offered to help, Nicholas Pope offered to call into the courts and be a witness for me, saying how much psilocybin helped people in this position. And again, within probably 2 days of all of that being submitted to the courts, I got a call from Paul Lewin. The charges were dropped.
Right. So right. But they dropped them because they don't want you fighting them. Because they know damn well that you'll win the case, and then it becomes a constitutional issue for the government.
That's exactly why they dropped it. You bet. But we want the world to know. So I've been posting it everywhere because it's a precedent-setting case. If patients, again, are anywhere in Canada and have their medicine with them, they have a fight like me. So again, keep that in mind. Everybody who's watching, you have the same rights that we have.
Absolutely. A Section 56 allows you to use medicine for your own health, for yourself. And that was what they based
Section 56 though, tomorrow.
No, but I mean, that's what a Section 56 originally meant, before we became court ruled into these programs that we have.
Yes.
That's a charter that stands in our fucking Charter of Rights and Freedom.
The government denied me, though. The government denied my Section 56 application through Paul Lewin a couple of years ago because he didn't like the amount that I take. And what somebody told me was that there's no amount when you're sick, that it shouldn't be a large or a small amount. It should just be what the patient needs. So again, lastly, I want to tell you, a hospital in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, just recently got the right to actually study psychedelics as medicine. And Hamilton is right beside me in Burlington, Ontario. So I'm really excited that somebody is finally listening. I was interviewed on the local TV station at CHCH News for this issue on January 2nd, because again, it's huge. And I want people to know that I've been waiting since I've been the first legal patient in the world for pain for psilocybin from 2017. I have been waiting.
Right? And that's the thing that people need to hear, because it's not, you're not going to read it in the newspaper. You're not going to see it on mainstream media. Like it has to be word of, and that's how we've done everything for decades. It wasn't something that community was picking up on, right?
The community we're in is so fabulous because they share all of this. And what these people do is they actually, again, are educating the others by doing this. And that's what I love, is that it's not just the people who are watching or listening, it's the people who pass it on over and over and over again, which is exactly what we want.
Well, that's how we all got here. It was hearing somebody else's story, hearing how somebody else got some relief off of this, trying it ourselves, finding the relief, and then spreading that message. And that's what has rippled across our country, and what got us as where we are today. I mean, it's not perfect. Okay, like let's be fair. Medical patients have been left behind, but nobody's looking over their shoulder smoking a joint anymore.
Exactly.
Nobody's going to jail for fucking pot anymore unless they're. Yep. You know, so there's some good. There are some good aspects. Why I'd like to see, and this is what I want to get onto next, is why you feel all drugs should be manufactured and legalized in Canada.
You better believe it, Eddie. First and foremost, when they're legal, they can be studied even more. So I want people to know that for sure. That's the main reason I'm fighting, because I want them legal so that everybody can study these substances and find out exactly what helps people like me and you. You know, again, tomorrow, we don't know down the road. I've had ketamine on prescription for well over a decade at my local hospital, and I didn't know, again, I didn't stop to think about anything because it helps me. And so all I did was put it in the hands of the doctors and say, this is what I'd like. I don't want an anesthesia. I don't want pharmaceutical anesthesia anymore. Can you please give me ketamine before surgeries? And they ended up doing that. And the funniest thing was, the first time I had ketamine, Gary was absolutely shocked. Not only was I the first person sitting up in the recovery room, but I was the first person dressed, the first person home, and it lasted almost all day. So ketamine,
right? But again, and it doesn't give you that groggy, like run out feeling, because ketamine's totally different, right?
Yeah, no, I had no effects, no grogginess. As I said, I woke up immediately. I was clear-headed. Gary was shocked. He was sitting beside me, and I didn't know that, waiting for me to wake up. But again, I've had, I don't even know how many surgeries since then, and each one I've had ketamine each time. So again, something to think about for people. If you don't want my father almost died when they gave him pharmaceutical anesthesia. He almost died. And literally that scared me so much that's another reason I looked into these substances.
Well, my dad was allergic to penicillin.
Wow.
And this last bout before he passed away in June, trying to find something that would kill off the infection, because they couldn't even use like regular, you know what I mean? So it was shutting his kidney and stuff out. My dad has always been allergic to penicillin. Yeah. So even something as like, it's not that he was allergic to anything else. I'm not allergic to any pharmaceuticals as far as I know. But my dad was allergic to penicillin, and he was a diabetic too, and was regularly getting infection and trying to fight the infection because he was a diabetic too, being antibiotic pretty much resistant, right?
Right. The same way I am with opioids. It's funny. Again, there are people all like that out there. And this is the thing, is that we're all different, as I heard you say earlier. You know, I
say that a lot too, because what works for somebody, like, because a lot of people say, well, you know, cannabis doesn't do anything for me. I've done this and I've done that. And I said, that's fair. Like, I understand, because you know what? I take hydromorphine, and it doesn't do anything for my pain. It makes me hyper. It doesn't make me go groggy and sleepy like everybody else. It gives me a fucking headache, and then I don't sleep. So it's doing the opposite effect for me than it does what it's supposed to do. Like everybody else that takes hydromorphine or morphine usually gets drowsy, sleepy, like, you know, not me. I'm up fucking doing dishes at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning if I take it, right? Like serious, and I told my doctor that. Like everything that works, like for anybody else, it's like the counteract because I'm attention deficit too. So it seems like pharmaceuticals counteract on me. Now it's like sativa and indica. I use indica all day because if I smoke sativa, I'm sleeping.
Yeah, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I have and psilocybin. I don't do well on it. I've tried it in microdosing. I've tried it in others, and I don't do well on it. I get actually physically sick. I throw up. So it's not like because believe me, before I went and tapped and then had to take any of this other fucking garbage behind my shoulder, I tried everything. Turmeric caps, this cap, that cap, shove it in this hole, up that hole. You know what I mean? Like, in every orifice it could go, it was going, and nothing effectively was doing enough to get me out of bed because I was so seized up from inflammation from the rheumatoid, right? Because it's an autoimmune. I've got overactive immune disease. So my red cells eat the white cells, what causes my body's basically eating itself when I'm like seized up and I can't even move. So I had, unfortunately, to go to the fucking and started with prednisone, and then they weaned me off that. Now I take methotrexate, but it's still toxic as fuck.
You
But I'm
know,
moving.
we can't, there's no way we can get away from some of the pharmaceuticals tomorrow. I still take probably 7 or 8 different types of pharmaceuticals. But
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could.
Keep them down. I don't want to take as many, and I don't want to. So that's what cannabis has helped with, you know. And again, the psilocybin, I don't need these pills called what are they called? Is it Toradol? Ketorolac is
Oh yeah.
what do you call it? Off version. I can't think of the name I'm trying to think of. But anyway, Ketorolac, I don't need to take that. And one of the things with Ketorolac is if you take it, you can't take it for more than 5 days in a row. Or A, your liver won't make it. Or B, you will do some serious damage to your body. So those are the sorts of things that psilocybin helps me not take. That's why I would rather have psilocybin. And again, that I have, again, it takes away all of that medication. So, you know, I still take, like you, hydromorphone regularly, every day, 4 times a day at least.
I don't take it every day. Oh no, no. I only take the pain meds when I'm flaring. Like I only have to take folic acids every day because of the depletion from the methotrexate. I only take the methotrexate once a week. But if I'm taking my methotrexate regularly, it usually keeps me so my inflammations are down because it's immune suppressing, right? So I have no immunity. Good. But again, like, that's the downside. But when I'm flaring, I've got gabapentin, I've got hydromorphine, when I take attention deficit, I take Ritalin every day. That's for my attention deficit though. But the cannabis keeps it so that I do have to take the hydromorphine. It nauseates me so bad. I only get 2 milligrams because I take 4 milligrams, I'm puking. So I can't take a lot of hydromorphine, not a high dosage of it, that I'm puking. Again, it gives me a fucking headache and makes me, not that I need to be any more hyper than I already am, right? And right, so I don't take, and then again, the cannabis.
That's why we love you. Oh, by the way, Gary says happy birthday, twin, or when it comes on Valentine's Day.
Right, we're just another month away. We got another month to be 55. I got one more month of 55.
Woo-hoo.
And then woohoo, right? Yes, Gary is my twin. And it's funny because when we met each other, like Gary's like 6'5". How tall? 6'4". And I'm 4'9". So you got like.
No, he loves that. He thinks you're a little. Holy honey, you're a little bullet the way you were.
And that's the thing. Like I've been so blessed with this cannabis community over the years. Like I said, this is going on my 20th year. We started Southern Alberta Cannabis Club in June of 2006, right? So this is my 20th year. And I met you guys in Ottawa in 2012, I think it was. I believe it was 2012. But I met you like before online and stuff prior to that. Yes. And I think when I made my first trip out to Ottawa, the protest on Parliament Hill 2012, I got to meet you in person. So I've been able to do some trips.
I took all those pictures in the parliamentary press when we were getting ready to speak. Right on.
Because we had a press conference and we were all in the green room with Russ and Christine. Yeah, exactly. But that was 2012. So again, like I had the privilege of meeting so many great people from coast to coast to coast because of cannabis.
Yeah.
because of the fact that we all were fighting for the same thing. And whether we were politically aligned or not, we were all aligned on cannabis and people needing their medicine and people needing their licensing in a timely manner and all this 10-week weeding and all this bullshit, 35 fucking papers. So we've gotten down to 11 papers, right? 35 to 11. They did do, you know, but how many times we had that program change? MMAR, MMPR, ACMPR. Like, oh my God, like, and that's just from the time that I started this.
You know, again, honey, they just have to fix the program. I really don't care what it's called. I just want patients to actually be able to A, afford it, and B, get what they need appropriately.
And be able to not be cut back because somebody somewhere said, well, we're only going to pay for 5 grams, so limit on the fuck, because that's what this all boils down to. This boils down to how much the government is willing to pay the veterans for their medicine. So this all boils down to, and I'm not shading the vets at all, they deserve everything they get, plus 10 times more. I wish that they didn't have a cap on their cannabis. But another thing that bothers me, though, is that they were given DIN numbers so they could be covered. Why can't they do that for everybody then? Why can't we all be on the same
I didn't know that.
playing field?
Unbelievable. Shocking.
That's how they get they have a DIN number. Because that was always their excuse as to why they couldn't cover this and why they couldn't cover that. Because there was no patent. There was no DIN number. Oh.
Wow. You know what, though? If there's a DIN number on it tomorrow, they've changed that product a bit. They changed that substance. Because there's no way they can get a DIN number without changing at least one of those cannabinoids.
Well, no, but they also have to go through the license. They also have to go through the licensed producers. They also have to wait for their stuff in the mail. They don't get to just use the, you know, they can't. And I'm not sure because I know before, I've been trying to get one of my veteran friends to come on this show, but he's kind of leery to talk about it in public, I think, because I'm not sure that they're able, like, to really, like, tell.
Yeah, I bet. I wouldn't doubt it. You
know what I'm saying? Because there's been some little leeriness there on, like, answering the questions that I've asked. And I'm not getting always direct answers, even just between me and this person. So I don't know if they have to sign maybe something to say that they...
You know what? I wonder if the government's involved if they don't have an NDA.
Well, they are because they're under Veterans Affairs, right? These are prior military. They're under veterans benefits, right? They're all then still technically property of the government, right? Because once you become a soldier, then you become a ward of the government too, right? People don't realize that. Once you're a soldier, you sign your rights away to be a civilian. You're no longer a civilian. Now, once you retire, you're then signed off as a civilian. But if you're being covered by Veterans Affairs and Veterans Benefits, I'm not really sure what you're, like, I don't know. I'm not a veteran myself.
Sure, I haven't heard. I have family who are veterans, so, and not that old.
These are questions. These are questions we should be asking. Like, these are questions, and again, I don't know if we can answer them, right?
You know what?
I don't know any of them well enough to ask these very personal questions either, because a lot of these questions are about their health and their privacy, and I don't have. It's not my business to ask them. Like, you know, it's kind of like that.
You know what, Tamara? It's up to people whether or not they say. They actually, you know, give you that information, because they can always say, no, I'm sorry. You know, can we talk about something else, or not, you know, not something I agree with, or whatever. My point is, if they want to be anonymous in their way, they can even do what I'm doing. Look at my screen right now. It's just not even there. You know I mean?
You can blur your screen out, and then nobody has to see your face. Not that you're blurring your screen out because you want to hide your face. I know why you're blurring your screen out. You're in bed. I get it. You know what? We're patient. And we're patients, and if we want to fucking do a show from our bed and not get dressed, we can do that. And if we want to, you know, because that's what we deal with on a daily. All of us that are on here, I hate the word patient, but people that use cannabis as medicine, because patients to me reminds me of somebody in a hospital bed. And I've always had a thing about that. We're not tied to an IV. We're wanting quality of life. We don't want to be that person in a hospital bed. Why we use cannabis, right?
Yep. Beautiful. And again, sorry, Tamara. I was going to say,
go ahead.
I feel the same way, but I'm not disabled. I just have a different ability of doing things. So I'm differently abled. I'm not disabled. And that's what people, again, need to understand. We, again, want to live. We have quality of life. We do things, right? And again, I'm all dressed and I look better than ever. It's a shame you can't see me.
I bet you do. You always look beautiful, no matter what.
No, but I am all
But again, like I said, with the stigma that goes along with disability or people with other abilities, right? People that don't have the abilities that some other people do because of whatever they have. But we live with such stigma. We live with no quality of life. We live in financial abuse. We're either financially abused by our government because we either can't get PWD or AISH or anything like that in disability. And if you can, it's not even enough to live on. When you're paying $2,000 a month for a rental and you're getting $1,700 a month for disability, that doesn't really work.
Exactly, Annie.
And I don't know why people that work think that they're like, why people that are not. I don't know why people that work have this almost like a stink on their face when it comes to anybody with the
Sorry, I
non-ability.
can't hear you, honey.
I said it's funny how people that have the ability to work look their nose down at people that don't, right? That can't work. Right? And then they all make it a big deal that, oh my God, that person doesn't get to live. They get a free check from the government. How many times do you hear that? Free checks from the government? No, it's free checks from our neighbors. Our neighbors that work because you're supposed to work to help the vulnerable.
You're right. But again, it goes back to the community, Tamara. Because even with working, there are different things we can do, and you can make money under the table helping people. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've done that with people who've helped me. You know, just here you go. That's a little bit for your time or whatever the case may be. And it may not be much, but the point is it makes us feel like actual real people because then we can do that, right? So again, always look at your community.
It's been so frustrating for me not being able to work, and then my medical unemployment ran out. So the substitution program has kind of gone to the wayside too, because I realized how much I was funding it out of my own pocket, that the donations weren't coming in as much. So the substitution program has gone to the wayside because I've got no money because I'm not working. I got no income. So and it's not like I don't like, and it's not like Alvin doesn't work. He does, but
doctors running into that on the East Coast with the same issue.
Yeah, and our community used to be so giving, but again, our community isn't as growing. People aren't growing like they used to. Like we don't have designated growers as much as we seem to have had before. I'm not growing anymore. I used to have a garden of 200 plants. I had more than enough to give away, and more than enough to bake with, and more than enough for myself. But now that I'm in a situation where I don't have power to grow even 4 fucking plants, never mind the 200 I was licensed for, I can't even help myself. And that's the fucking problem. I was
licensed at 150 grams a day. I was actually finding that, like you, I had a little extra, and rather than put it away for a rainy day, I actually asked all the area compassion clubs if they could use a little extra, and I would always donate to the compassion clubs whatever I didn't consume. So there was always enough for me, but every now and then there was a little more. Because again, I use cannabis in every way. It's 20 times as much cannabis just to make oil. So again, I use oil all the time, and then make food in it and juice it. I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. So there's so many ways other than smoking. You don't have to just smoke to get the medicine. People like me smoke because again, it's the fastest route of administration for pain relief. So if I'm having trouble and my pain's starting, you better believe I'm going to smoke.
Yeah.
But again.
Absolutely. And I mean, Cheryl too is finding out such great relief for Haley. Right? With the juice. And now with the research for the microgreens, like these are huge steps that we've made or Cheryl's made with going back to school too. Like Cheryl went back to school to do this. She went back to do this research. She absolutely went back specifically for this. But Haley, you could have covered remember when we first met Haley, she was like non-verbal. She was like a little Skeletor, right? She's like 33 years old now, has a boyfriend, just got her. And I was like having a conversation with her just like you and I, right?
I saw the interview.
And this is all like cannabis. And this kid's been like, she's not a kid anymore. She's a young woman. And she's absolutely beautiful. But she was 15 fucking years old when we met her. And now she's 33, and she's still alive and kicking and doing so great. I haven't kept up on Liam McKnight, but I know I seen another fellow on TikTok with a little man with Davenport, and I tagged Mandy McKnight for this fellow because he's
speaking of Liam, good,
right? So again, there's so many other children out there. Sophie in Nova Scotia.
He was 5 when he got a license here in Ontario for cannabis, and Liam suffers from Dravet syndrome, which is a type of epilepsy. So
Yeah.
yeah, actually, oh Mandy, I adore you, darling. Kiss the family
Right.
if you're watching, Mandy.
Right. And
Leave it-
again, too, we've got the Joneses out in Nova Scotia with Sophie, who she's in a wheelchair. She's got I can't pronounce it, so I'm not even going to attempt. But she had scoliosis. They had her spinal surgery done, and all through that, the kid came out of there with flying colors. And due to her CBD and her mother fighting so hard for her to be able to get access to that, so do the Joneses too. Mwah. I love you guys. Like, you know, and Nick used to work with Alvin on the rig in Alberta. That's how we first met them, because Nick, her dad, worked with Alvin, and that's how they learned about cannabis, was from my husband. So we've got, you know, a very strong tie to that one. And then I mentioned it to Deb because they're all out in the Maritimes, so we got everybody connected out there, you know.
Again,
all right, we blew through our hour. We're at time again, Nick, here. It goes by so quick.
Thank you.
I know. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
I love you. I'm a big fluffy guy.
I love you so much too. It's like I said, this is going on almost, like I would say, I've known you, like I met you in 2012, but I actually met you in 2006. So this is our 20th year too, lady.
You're a firecracker.
All right. Well, again, thanks to our sponsors, and thanks to Al, our producer. And Al, our producer, and thanks to Allison. And thanks, we had more watchers today than I've ever had before. Our numbers were up and down all through it. So let's keep it going, guys, and thanks for watching. See you next. I'll see you actually Wednesday night on the Pace Radio Show, which is at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And that's a wrap for today. Love you.
Bye, Annie.
Take care,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody. I love you.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.